Cinderella, Aurora, and Belle. And I woke up
I have
one.
no idea any of the princesses, so you could be lying to me and I would agree with you.
I'm totally lying to you. So I wake up one day and I notice that I cannot see my curtains. When I was born, you're not aware of the fact that you're having surgery, but at the age of 28, you're aware of the fact that you're having surgery and you're aware of the fact of, what's going on. And I could vividly remember losing my vision this time around. So it was scary. So, just it's a journey to be a woman. It's a journey to be a woman of color. I'm not going to lie to you. We're not necessarily, always afforded some of the same luxuries of our, white counterparts. I mean, I don't think anybody knew that I was going to quote unquote be great. In fact, I had several people from doctors, going back to telling my parents to find an institution for your child. These things are not going to work. She's going to not be able to, do certain things. And, speaking would not be an issue, or speaking would not be an option for her. And
Well, you mentioned that you say that society holds you back, but isn't it kind of the person's job to find where they excel at and go toward that? Become great myself, like no one's gonna do it for me. And I think most people just don't want to put in the work to do it. And it's like, I guess there's disability excuse, but sometimes it's just not a good excuse anymore. Like there's just it's it's hard to like tell them the truth, and I think a small part actually can work, but I think a
Mhm.
lot more can is that they have to put more of the work in themselves and make something of it. I don't know. Like, what do you agree with my opinion, or do you think I'm too harsh?
I had every right to be miserable with everything that I was born with. I had absolutely every right to hate the world and absolutely every right to just want to, essentially lay down and go to sleep and not wake up. But for me, it was that my faith is so strong in who God called me to be that I don't have time to be mopey and things like that. But that's just me because that's the expectation. It's not that you have a disability and you can't do these things. How about it's you do have a disability. Let's show that you can do these things. Period. And not everybody with disabilities might feel this way, but I feel this way. I am trying with the work that I do to prove a point. And my point being that you can have several conditions and things like that, but you can also be successful. I was told that my stuff was crappy just because
Uh oh,
that's
you
what happened.
cursed.
I said crappy.
I don't know, like oh no, I'm gonna have to blur it out. Hello, welcome to my podcast, Two Mics One Joe Stooch. I am Joe Stooch, and I'll be giving a mic to Amanda. She is a poet, author, life coach, and Special Olympics global ambassador. Let's start off with a poem that calculates how articulate you are, called "I Am Proud to Be Me."
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joe. I truly appreciate this. So, just a little bit of background on proud to I actually shortened it to actually proud to be when I actually wrote the book because
Okay.
I was like I don't want this to be like super long, like proud to be me. It's like, should I call it proud to be me or should I just call it proud to be? And proud to me just kind of
Uh,
flew, so it's kind of like, I shortened it to proud to be. But I think I
I
didn't.
kind of like. I think you should be selfish though and be proud to be me because I think it's hard to be yourself.
And I think I forgot to update it on my website or wherever the other title is. Proud to be me. I think it might be on my website. Oops. Guess I'll be doing some editing, right? but but anyway.
Well, this is all about Amanda, so proud to be me, in parentheses, Amanda.
Hey, that's even better. But anyway, proud to be. Not proud to be me. This is just proud to be. Proud to be. I'm proud to be me. Oh, oops. I'm proud to be unique. I'm proud to be beautiful. I'm proud to be kind. Proud to be intelligent. proud to be creative. I'm proud to be funny. I'm proud to be honest. I'm proud to be clever. I'm proud to be hydrocephalic. I'm proud to be legally blind. I'm proud to be autistic. And oh yeah, I'm proud to be me. Perfect.
To fill in the gaps for the audience, Amanda has hydrocephalus. No,
Hydrocephalus?
yep, that's the word. Just for everyone to know, this is the third time we're doing it, and I still didn't get the word right. So, but this is where she had too much fluid buildup in her brain. This requires surgery to install a shunt so her brain and body can function normally. She has retinopathy, where she is legally blind with only tunnel vision, so she has to move her head if she wants to see her size. Also, at 26, she was diagnosed with autism. I have here your retina detached 3 times, but I want to talk about your retina detaching when you were waiting in line at Disneyland to see Ariel.
Yeah. So in 2018, I took a trip with my parents to Disney World, and I'm waiting in line to meet Ariel, one of the Disney princesses. I absolutely love the Disney princesses, so this was like heaven for me. And I noticed that my eyes, well, my eye, this was my right eye, it begins to just itch and burn, and it's just uncontrollable discomfort at this point. But I still wanted to stay in line because it's the happiest place on earth. Who wants to be miserable while you're in the presence of princesses? Not me. So I finished my trip, but then I wake up one day to see, or to realize rather, that I can't see my curtains, and I don't know if you could see the curtains actually behind me, but these are the curtains, and they're these big beautiful curtains with Cinderella, Aurora, and Belle. And I woke up
I have
one
no idea any of the princesses, so you could be lying to me, and I would agree with you.
I'm totally lying to you. So I wake up one day and I notice that I cannot see my curtains. I somehow managed to stumble downstairs because at some point I'm just seeing like white, the color white in my field of vision. And the first word that I uttered to my mom as I'm stumbling down the stairs, I don't even remember how I honestly got down the stairs, because I'm assuming that when you have a detached retina, it's probably not safe to walk down the stairs.
I'm
But I didn't know that
surprised
my
you even managed. I thought you'd be like calling for
right,
help the minute you can't see anything.
right. From what I remember gripping the handrail. And one of the things, growing up for me, legally blind, is that my mom would tell me to, in some cases in public places, scoot down the steps so you can minimize having to fall.
That's not awkward at all.
It's not. It's not, but I guess it's better than, like scraping your knees and things like that. And I think it would
Yeah.
only be in areas that had, of course, carpet, or else my butt would not be very happy if I'm having to scoot on like concrete or something. But so I remember stumbling down the stairs and getting downstairs somehow, and seeing just the outline rather of my mom, who was sitting on the couch, and I'm assuming that's where she was sitting, because it's like that's where she always sits, but I can't honestly remember to be sure because I couldn't see anything. And I go to her and say that I woke up this morning and I can't see my curtains, and I'm crying at that point because it's scary. It's scary to wake up and not be able to see anything. I was seeing flashes of just a blur, and in some cases light. But my mom, being as fierce as she is, she contacted the doctor who actually performed my first couple of surgeries, which was a cryopexy, which is essentially what they do is they freeze the retina in place. So she contacted that doctor who had done my surgery 28 years prior and essentially stopped me from going completely blind back in 1990, I believe. It's been smooth sailing since then. I think that doctor is incredibly amazing. I credit him for saving my vision, actually. And
Are you
to
talking about the one 30 years ago, or are you talking about the one that it happened?
both, honestly, going back, having it like 30 years ago and having it hold up until this, recent time in 2018, where he had to, I don't remember the procedure that he did this time around. I didn't ask. I just wanted to, restore whatever vision was left. So shout out to shout out to Dr. Brenton, because it's scary. It was incredibly scary for me. When I was born, you're not aware of the fact that you're having surgery, but at the age of 28, you're aware of the fact that you're having surgery, and you're aware of the fact of what's going on. And I could vividly remember losing my vision this time around. So it was scary. So, just shout out to that medical team, because
So what? So you're losing your vision and you get surgery. So did you regain the vision you had before then, or did you lose some of it in the process?
yeah, no, I lost some of it in the process, and that was really hard for me to admit, because like my vision's not perfect anyway, but still you want to hang on to what you have.
Hmm.
And to realize that, if I were to cover my left eye like they do at the doctor's office and just look through my right eye,
Hmm.
everything is completely blurry.
Really?
Yeah, everything is completely blurry, and that's hard, for me to fathom. And I'll do it on occasion where I'll just go ahead and I'll cover the left eye in hopes that my vision in the right eye will magically come back and everything will
Hmm.
not be blurry and I'll be able to see things. Hasn't happened yet.
Wait, so you're saying that in one of your eyes you can't see really at all, and the other eye is kind of the more powerful one?
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I see. You need an eye patch or something.
I'm sorry?
You need an eye patch.
I do. I hope they make I hope they make purple eye patches for everyone.
They need like a pirate princess or something, like a badass pirate princess. That'd be really cool.
Hey, yeah. Yeah. I mean you're in New York. Get your connections together and let's go with this whole pirate princess. But I'm not having a peg leg. I refuse to have a peg leg. I like my legs.
Nah, they seem so uncomfortable. I don't even. I get why they're made, but like they look so uncomfortable compared to now, at least. But yeah, they with the princesses, they actually made the princesses less feminine, I guess, because all of them are like dresses and like beautiful and all this. And maybe they're, I'm sure there's women that don't want to be like dresses. Maybe they want like to be a badass, like a pirate. That'd be really cool. I like
You yeah,
something like it,
yeah.
something like the Tomb Raider. That'd be really cool.
I've never heard of that.
No, the Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider,
Who?
Lara Croft. It's not a princess. She's a movie character.
Is that like Marvel or something?
Oh no, that's it had to have been around for like maybe 10 years now. So it's with I think Angelina Jolie was one. No.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she did like this woman that just goes into caves and like explores shit, like this badass woman and such.
Oh, see, what you could be feeding me right now could be a complete crock of like crap,
No, no,
and
no,
I
no.
wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't know because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, she's like goes in caves and all this bad. She fights off like guy that's trying to steal like the I don't know whatever is in a cave, some cave. Yeah,
Oh,
she's a real person. I wouldn't lie to you about that. So
I've
like,
I've
uh,
I've heard of Angelina Jolie.
Yes,
Good for
I mean,
her.
she hasn't been relevant for like the past 10 years, but I think
Really?
she's busy raising her family and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, busy raising her family, I believe.
yeah, I think she had like 6 kids. I think some of them are adopted. Some, but we're g-
Really cool.
mm, but we're going off track now. It's about Amanda. Um, so so I mentioned that you have tunnel vision. So are you saying that you had tunnel vision before the third surgery? And or you gain tunnel vision after that surgery if you get degraded to that?
So, my parents explained it to me that they had to choose, during that time when I was first losing my vision at however old I was when I was born, that they had to make the choice, the very difficult choice, whether to save my tunnel vision or my peripheral vision. My peripheral vision or my side vision is what ended up being lost in that surgery. I lack peripheral vision, but I do have, I would say, pretty good tunnel vision, or at least good for my situation.
I mean, I think that's a better choice too. Like, kind of, could it be awkward to always look to your side? Not, especially for people that don't know what you have. They're like, why Amanda always looking at me sideways? Like, giving me the side eye all the time?
um, so yeah, so I do have some friends who are vision impaired, and they're the reverse of my situation, where they do only have peripheral vision and no longer have tunnel vision due to various eye conditions and things like that. So I have seen that as well, and the challenges of just having the peripheral vision and not having tunnel vision.
Yeah, I interviewed someone that she had like dots in her eyes and her tunnel vision, and she got used to talking to people, talking up to directly, even though she only had peripheral vision. She just
Uh-huh.
got used to it because that's just the respectful way to talk to humans. And
Right.
I get it. It's just like I talked to her during the interview, like if you want to look at me sideways so you can like see me, like just that she can be like so it's more comfortable for her, but like she didn't want to because I want to be accommodating to the person so she can see me, but like she also realizes that she knows that it's weird if like if you go onto the episode and she's talking to it sideways, like what are you doing? But it's crazy like it's possible that you can do surgery like that. And then also how complex the eyes are. Like you can have tunnel vision but not peripheral or peripheral and not tunnel. Like to me, an eye and eye, but like there's so much it's so much more intricate. I have like how do you even determine like what does what, you know?
Right, right. And for that I credit my parents for that, for just wanting, at that time, when I was born, there wasn't even a whole bunch of, research, on these various conditions, the hydrocephalus, and really with the retinopathy of prematurity. And I was kind of, I'll just say, kind of just like a guinea pig, because they weren't necessarily jumping to save babies who were born as small as I was. I was 1 pound 7 ounces, and now, if you look
Eesh.
at the research of how far the medical community has come in terms of saving babies, now they have what's known as micro preemies. So that's, I believe, 22 weeks to about 24 weeks. And these children that they are saving now are smaller than I was.
I mean, I feel like at this point, like we're not even gonna need women anymore. Like we'll just produce them in a lab and then that's it.
Not need women. Now, I think my job as a woman is very important.
But like the baby part aspect, like I know it's hell on the women, but I think you could be like you can have a child, but like don't go through any 9 months of creating a baby and delivery. Like imagine this. You can be like, I want a baby, and then like, okay, come back in 9 months, and then here you go.
Right, right. It's definitely a journey. It's a journey to be a woman. It's a journey to be a woman of color. I'm not going to to lie to you, we're not necessarily, always afforded some of the same luxuries of our, white counterparts. I mean, I'm just going to say it. So definitely when I was born, was definitely a battle, and definitely we still kind of face discrimination for being women. And if you're of color, then you have people who aren't ready for it. But I'm here. So get out of my way.
Hey, I mean, if you had an option to not to have a kid and not have to give birth, I think most women would do that option. Like, I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's possible. Like, I'm glad I'm a guy. I'll put it out there.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. This is not your decision. You have like nothing to do with it. Lucky you.
No, I mean, I think just like let's say I was a woman and like I want to have kids. I think just like learning about the birth of a kid will just like make me not want to have a kid at all. Why would I want to put myself to hell for that? Like,
I don't know.
like women do it all the time, and it's like, wow. I'm like, no thanks. I'm like, my life is pretty hard as it is. I'm not gonna want to put myself to more pain for something. And then what happens if, like the kid comes out like dumb or something, and like I have to deal with it now? Like, I want a LeBron James child. I don't want like a average person, you know?
But the greatness, I believe, greatness, it's not born, it's fostered. And I say that because based on my situation, I don't think anybody knew that I was going to quote unquote be great. In fact, I had several people from doctors, going back to telling my parents to find an institution for your child. These things are not going to work. She's going to not be able to, do certain things. And, speaking would not be an issue, or speaking would not be an option for her. And, she was going to, have cerebral palsy. And just, hearing these things that these physicians at that time spoke over my life. I mean, to be honest with you, no one ever really thought that what it sounded like is no one ever really thought that I had, a rat's chance of being successful, which is honestly untrue. But, and unfortunately you have people who believe that based on how children are, born.
I mean, we can say that your parent has a huge influence on you, but it also comes down to the person. They have to like put in the work to make themselves great too. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's all about you. And like I came, I'm not interviewing your parents, I'm interviewing you. So like it comes down to you to like put in the work and make yourself, I guess, valuable to other people so that they want to be with you and like hire you, I guess.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what you were saying, I would say that, and I know this is completely untrue, but I think this is the best way for me to describe it. That I didn't really start living until after my diagnosis of autism. And what I mean by that is that I found myself through my poetry. And then I just started, really realizing the value that I had prior to being diagnosed as autistic. I was, working a job that wasn't necessarily the best. It didn't feel of value. It wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do with my life. But I think we spend so much time restraining the population with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities, that we believe that, oh well, if this person just has a job, we don't necessarily care what kind of job it is, we don't necessarily care if it's a good job, we just need to get them a job out into society. And for me, it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do. I don't want to make it sound like I didn't want to work, but I which is not true. I wanted to do and have work that was meaningful to me. So in my case, that was being a freeform poet, because that's something that I love and value and have so much passion for. It's not necessarily performing janitorial services or, cleaning tables and things like that. I promise you that I'm terrible. I would be horrible at those jobs anyway. In fact, when I was working, I was told that I couldn't sweep a floor, and I was told that I couldn't, organize shelves and things like that. So what makes you think that I would go into another job that required that I have those skills? And honestly, to me, if I can't do those skills by society standards, then I'm probably am not really good at much of anything. So hopefully this poetry idea works out.
Well, you mentioned that you say that society holds you back, but isn't it kind of the person's job to find where they excel at and go toward that? Like you say you excel in poetry, so like you found your calling. So like but it sounds like it's up to the person to find out what they're good at because not everyone is like I'm not great with numbers, I'm not gonna do accounting. So like
Why not?
I'm it I'm gonna be fired and fined and in jail for 20 years because I forgot to add a number or two and but yeah, like I think disability people put a lot of pressure on society to like help a lot, but I feel like a lot of them don't want to put the effort in themselves in a way, and then they did blame everyone, but like sometimes they'd have to blame themselves a little bit too. But they have to take accountability.
Wow. Wow. No, no, no. That so I find that such an interesting perspective that you're not letting people with disabilities get away with it. And I think that that's, you're allowing them to have ownership for what it is that they want to do and, make their certain contributions. So I just thought that that was, a different perspective to go ahead and point out. Totally
Yeah,
honoring your perspective right now.
yeah. I mean, feel like a lot of disability don't want to take accountability from themselves of why they
Mhm.
are. Like, I understand they need help, but like so autism, for example, it can be a very complex disease, and like things don't they can't do a lot of things, and I understand that, but like has to be up to them to find a job that fits their lifestyle, not have someone else find a job for them. And they have to like put it in the work to like make something of themselves and they just start from somewhere. And I think a lot of them just don't. I think like when you're a disabled person and you're younger, it's easy because like you have school and such. And then when you get older, you kind of have to like start figuring things out for yourself because every adult does it. Yes, a regular person has more options of like, let's say, money aside, so they just go work at McDonald's. I get that, but like, they gotta take accountability of themselves too and figure out a way to make up themselves. And I think that's just a lot of. I think I do blame society. I think sometimes society creates too much of a um protective bubble around disabled people. So like
Mhm.
when they become adults, they become overwhelmed and like they'll see that they're not with their peers anymore. Like the peers are moving on into the world, like getting careers and such, and then they're just staying behind. But like I was that same too. I was kind of blaming the world for everything. But like after a while, I had to put the work in myself and become great myself. Like no one's gonna do it for me. And I think most people just don't want to put in the work to do it. And it's like I guess there's disability excuse, but sometimes it's just not a good excuse anymore. Like they're just It's it's hard to, like, tell them the truth, and I think a small part actually can work, but I think a
Mhm.
lot more can, is that they have to put more of the work in themselves and make something of it. I don't know. Like, what do you agree with my opinion, or do you think I'm too harsh?
I'll say that I value your opinion. And I say that because it's not one that you hear a lot, especially coming from another person with a disability.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I like it because you're very real with that. And I think that we do spend a lot of time, I guess, coddling
Mm,
the disability population. Yes, there are going to be things that we are unable to do. And, I'm not going to be able to drive a car, but does that mean I still can't go out into the world and still enjoy myself? They already told me I wasn't going to be able to drive, but if I said, well, I'm going to blame everybody else. I'm going to blame my parents and blame my sister and blame this person and blame the mailman and all that stuff because they have the option to have driver's licenses and I don't. So as a result, I don't get to enjoy myself. So I'm going to be miserable and make everybody else around me miserable. To me, that's not fair. Get a blanking bus pass at that point. Get a freaking what is it? Uber or something. But but I'm going to make sure that I go to that conference and make my presentations and things like that. I'm not going to say that because I don't drive I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to blame anybody else. And I did go through, when I heard that I couldn't receive a driver's license, I was 18, 19 years old. I hated absolutely everybody in the world who owned a car because I felt that I lost my right to be a licensed driver. But now I see it as you can make a lot of friends, and I made a lot of friends, throughout college, for people that would have to drive me to and from my college classes. So it turned out well, but there was a lot of bitterness towards that. Really in the beginning. I feel that you have to make what do you I'm blanking on it right now. Make lemonade out of lemons. So be prepared to make a whole lot of friends for people who can't drive. So even if you have to go ahead and befriend your Uber driver, then do it, because to fully stop you from saying, oh, because I don't have a driver's license I'm just going to shut out the world, but in the meantime I'm going to blame everybody in the process because I'm angry, that junk is not going to fly. It's just not.
No, I think everyone just has to understand their limitations and then work around it somehow. Like, can't just do nothing.
Or you can absolutely do nothing, but be miserable in this process. I know people with disabilities that are not essentially doing anything with their selves. And I don't know if they're blaming their disabilities or not, or just, society, or I don't know, but I do know people that come up with a whole bunch of excuses for why they can't do what they it's excuse after excuse after excuse and after excuse. And for me, I don't like excuses because I spent so much of, 18, 19, 20 dumping on myself for the things that I couldn't do instead of figuring out a way to make things happen. Now, for me, that came through, it really came out through ways of me writing my poetry and having to promote myself. Now, if I said that I'm not going to be able to do this, because of my vision, or I'm not going to be able to send this email to this producer because of my vision, then I would never have gained the experience to be on podcasts and things like that. So there might be some, errors in it due to my vision, or perhaps some words that are misspelled or things like that. But I honestly feel that most of these show producers feel and know kind of what I'm trying to say. But the point is, I put the effort in to go ahead and send those emails so I can, you know, end up doing things like this. But I do have, or have had, people in my life who, due to their disability, do foster a lot of excuses.
I'll say that that's why one of the reasons why I never wanted to hang out with disabled people, because a lot of those people are what you did mention of excuses and like not doing anything. And it's like, why would I want to surround myself with them? Because then I'm just gonna be the same as them, and I'm not. And then I don't like the bar disabled people set. I feel like they set the bar low, and then they can just say, "Oh, it's blaming on the disability," and it's like, I guess you can, but like, I don't want to compare myself with other disabled people because I know my bar is high and it's like top notch in like at least the podcasting world of among disabled people. But like, I want to be the same as people that are regular people that are not disabled. Like, I don't call myself a disabled person. I just call myself a person who happens to be disabled. Like like there's no reason why I can't have top production compared to a regular person. Yes, it's gonna take me longer to set up and edit and all that, but like there's not a big reason for it. And like that's why I did never like the disabled community, and I kind of don't still. Like I'm trying to like I'm meeting more people now that are more like active, so it's a little bit easier. But still, there's still a lot there that not. I understand there are some that really can't do anything to help everything. Like they're going through so much shit and like mental problem, and I get it. But like they also have to take ownership of like the depression and how they deal with things, and like trauma dumping. I know it's a lot when you talk to a lot of chronic ill people, they trauma dump on you because they don't talk to anyone. So, and forming a relationship based on trauma is not healthy at all. Like at the end of the day, we're just going to be okay. It's a little different with our conversation because we came on a podcast because we're talking about this shit. But like, if I just called you out of the blue, we're not going to be talking about our disability. We'll be talking about, I guess, stuff that we're doing. Like, hey, I'm doing an interview, and like I'm got an award and stuff. Like just regular people things. It's like we're not gonna be like, oh, like maybe like we got 30 or something, of course, but like you're not gonna be like, oh, like my life sucks in here. No, you're gonna be like, like I had banana for breakfast. Those regular thing. That's regular. That's what all people do. And I don't know. I never put myself in a disabled group, even though I'm probably in like the top 10% of like worst disabled people on a planet. But I never view myself like I know who I am. I know how I represent myself, but I also don't want to be a part of it because I don't. I think the disabled community is kind of toxic.
So I wouldn't necessarily count the disabled community as toxic, but what I will say is that I'll put it this way for me. I choose who I want to associate with. And I say that because you don't necessarily, and I say it not just for the disabled community. You say that for you say that really for any community or population. You can choose who you want to hang out with. And for me, I choose not to be surrounded by negativity. If to me you say too many things that are negative, or you're always mopey, or you're always in a bad mood and things like that, I don't care if you have a disability or not. You just suck. And um, I don't care if you have a disability or not. Like honestly, like get over yourself. So, I've had to make difficult decisions within the past year to 2 years to choose to empower myself by not having everybody go ahead and dump this. I have a disability, so therefore I'm going to be miserable and this, that, and the other. Well, you don't have to be. I think I had every right to be miserable with everything that I was born with. I had absolutely every right to hate the world and absolutely every right to just want to, essentially lay down and go to sleep and not wake up. But for me, it was that my faith is so strong in who God called me to be that I don't have time to be mopey and things like that. But that's just me. And that's how I view it. I have chronic back pain, yet I choose to wake up every single day and still find value in what it is that I'm doing and why I'm here. Simple. Versus I have a disability and I'm just going to let this disability essentially win the fight. I don't know if you're familiar with the autism community, but you'll hear a lot of parents of children with autism say autism won today. And when you have certain types of autism, you have persons who are nonverbal. So in some cases, their only way of communication is to bite or scratch or kick, perhaps the parent or their caregiver. And you hear a lot of them say, autism won today. And I was never raised like that. So I was, raised in a multiracial home. My mom is black, my dad is East Indian, and I have an older sister. We're about 19 months apart. If Ashley behaved a certain way, then the expectation is that I behave that way as well. And we were talking earlier, I want to say earlier this week, I was talking to a friend and I said, I have an expectation when I go, not only to the Special Olympics, but whatever speaking engagements that I do, that the expectation is that I'm on my game. Yes, I have a disability, but I'm on my game and I deliver to the highest and the best of my ability. My parents, for instance, they taught me how to behave in certain social situations. When it's dinner time, you sit down at the table and you do whatever you can to eat the best, to eat whatever it is on your plate, and lord forbid you don't leave the plates on the table. You clear your plate and put it in the sink and put it in the dishwasher. But I needed to, and I'm so happy that I learned skills like that, because you see people with disabilities who are treated in such a way that, oh, well, I don't require that Timmy clear his plate from the table. Well, he ate, didn't he? Get up and go put your plate in the sink. And for me, growing up, that was just an expectation. I hated doing chores, but I'm so thankful for that skill.
Mhm.
I have a load of laundry in the washing machine right now as we speak. And guess who's going to dry the clothes and fold them? Me, because that's the expectation. It's not that you have a disability and you can't do these things. How about it's you do have a disability? Let's show that you can do these things. Period.
It's hard to I don't have autism, and autism is such a huge spectrum that
Right.
it's almost really hard for even a person that is autistic to make an opinion on another autistic person. 'Cause it's so huge in range and like cognitive ability. So like
Of
it's
course.
hard. So it's like hard to like judge another family to like, let's say they get like tantrums and stuff, and
Uh-huh.
somewhere there's like hell on earth, let's just put it that way.
Right.
It's hard to say if it's the parents' fault for not instilling like a regimen of sorts, or like life it I would say life is already hard for the parent, and they're just
Uh-huh.
doing anything to make it easier for them. So, like you mentioned with the plate, if they don't eat the plate, then that's fine because if you make them, then it creates more havoc, and sometimes they just don't have the energy to discipline and still it regimen, and I get that. So it's hard to see if it's the parents' fault for not doing that, or is it the child's fault for not doing that. But I think some disabled people take advantage of it. I will have to say. Maybe they
Right.
don't consciously know about it, but like I think some of them do, and they just don't take accountability for it, and it's kind of bad. Like I was, so I'd like do a YouTube channel, and so I just think of topics to write about, like because well, people don't talk about the disabled community in a bad way. It's always like good things and whatnot, but like I'm just putting myself out there. So like one of the topics I was thinking of, like when I went to a special needs camp, and
Uh-huh.
I realized that like we were talking about accountability, and I realized a lot of these like I went to like camp with a whole huge range of like physical disability, mental disability, retardation, anything in between. But I realized a lot I think are it could be weird to say it, but like I think I think everyone has sexual desires. I think that's just a normal human path. But
Of
I
course.
think within the disabled community, I think there's a part of that. like everyone thinks sexual thoughts of each other. I think that's just normal thinking. But like a regular person doesn't express it out loud, or they might express it in a funny way or something. But like, you
Sure.
know, but like these disabled people, they don't have accountability. So they do sexual things to, so like I remember they'll do sexual things to like the counselors, and like, like boundaries are important and such.
Of
Like,
course.
the kid never had boundaries before because I get that they got away with a lot, so they would be a lot sexual to these people. Like, I remember this one woman, and she's, like, Korean or something, and she, like, had big boobs, and, like,
Mhm.
everyone loves big boobs, but, like, a respectable person wouldn't be like, "Oh, she has big boobs, you need to move on." Like, all the guys would, like, wanna be with her and such, and, like, and I remember we were, like, in the they were, like, a pool, and then, like, they kept trying to pull her top off, and it's, like, so bad.
Right.
And and it's it really sucked because she was a really nice person. Like, she just happened to have big boobs, and but like no one that took accountability for it. And I think they just don't know what they're doing either. They just like, it's not cool to do that to any person or anything, to do that. And it's like sucks to watch it. It's like, how do you well, when you're on the cam, you can't discipline a child because it's not your child, but like they need to be, I don't know if it's that they don't have a mental capacity to not know what they're doing is wrong,
Mhm.
or they just don't care because no one ever has disciplined them at all. And then I think the other thing, a lot of these disabled people will never be in a sexual relationship due to their disability and their personality and not being a productive part of society. And so they'll never experience that. So they want to see like a hot woman, like as like a counselor, and they're close to and have, like, especially guys that are, like, insecure and stuff. A counselor is supposed to be nice, right?
Right.
And then some guy will take it like, "Oh, well, she really likes me," and, like, maybe we'll, like, get married or something. It's like, "No, she's just doing her job." Lady people don't know, and it was just weird to watch it
Yeah.
unravel, and it's like, I didn't wanna be part of that, like, and it's just, I think it just come back to, what's the word? Taking responsibility for your action. Maybe they didn't think of it, but, like, they need to be taken they need accountability, and no one can give them that, and it's just wrong.
Yeah, I think, it's important, with people with disabilities to realize that there is no one size fits all, that
Yeah.
everybody we have, IEPs when we're in school, individual education plans. And I think when we lose that, physically after we graduate from the system or after we, obtain jobs, after we turn, what is it, 21, 22, or whatever it is. But I think we need to remember that people with disabilities, we we do in some sense require some sort of a, roadmap and things like that. Now that to me is not to say that we should bar these individuals from society, who might have what I call a higher support need. I don't think that I don't think the solution is to go ahead and bar people who have those types of conditions from society. That's not the point. But I do believe that we should give them a chance to be part of community activities. However, at the end of the day, there is only so much that we can do. I remember watching a news piece of a young man with Down syndrome. He was in his class and he didn't get what he wanted. I don't remember what it is that he wanted, but he got so frustrated that he broke or fractured the paraprofessional's arm because he was frustrated. So he,
Oh my god. That's
you
extreme,
know,
though.
yeah. So she pressed charges against this young man, and he, had a disability. I don't know how much he honestly understood, about the ramifications, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I came through the special education system and I saw certain behaviors coming through the special education system where I'm thinking that this person is slamming around desks and getting incredibly frustrated because you're not doing what he wants you to do, but society doesn't work like that. Society does not bend to your will because you're frustrated, and
Mhm.
that's just the reality of the situation. We're not going to bend to your will just because you're frustrated. Who died and left you in charge? So it it is up to, I'm not just saying the parents, but it is up to the educational team as well as the parents, as well as, you know, trained counselors if you have them on site, to make sure that this person with a disability is as successful as possible. That is the way that I see it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to go to college. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have a job. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be quote unquote productive members of society, whatever that might look like for their specific situation. But to me, it does mean that because I don't give you what you want, you can't slap me in the face.
But
You can't be violent or hostile towards me because you don't get what you want.
well, but that it kind if you're just doing that situation, it means that there's something wrong with them mentally because a regular person doesn't do that. Or maybe they'll do it one time and then learn their lesson and then move on. But like these, like regular people were not handed anything really. Like we're kind of, like we're kids and we kind of learn by mistake, like you putting your hand on the stove if it's hot, you don't do it again. But like, so there has to be something mentally wrong with them if they keep doing the same action over and over again. And so then even being disciplined might not be good enough. There just might be something mentally wrong with them. And then they can't be a productive part of society because they can't mentally understand society.
Right, right. No, you raise a good point, and I think that's important that you raise an important point. And I think, you know, in some cases that I have to shift my focus some of the time, and remember that not everybody with a disability is going to be at, you know, for instance, like a certain level, which is totally fine. I have issue with what you're doing is disrupting my life. And what I mean by that is if you can't handle it, so your way to go ahead and deal with your frustration is by possibly endangering me or slapping me in the face or whatever it is you do to alleviate your frustration, that's where I have a problem with it. And to me, it doesn't matter if you have a disability or not.
Hmm.
And the way that I see it is that, and not everybody with disabilities might feel this way, but I feel this way. I am trying with the work that I do to prove a point. And my point being that you can have several conditions and things like that, but you can also be successful. So I'm really, for myself, trying to set my own personal standard of greatness and excellence. I can't speak for other people. At the end of the day, you can only speak for you, and I can only speak for me. And I can choose what I want to do at the end of the day and what I want to model and what I want to show other people with disabilities, that these are the things that I can do. But I'm not going to necessarily say that it's the right path for everybody with a disability because that may not be what they want to do. They might want to just go ahead and, you know, do other things. I mean, if you want to be and sound entitled and gimme, 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 I deserve it because I have a disability. I deserve it because this is how, you know, honestly, like my mom taught me and she didn't teach me, not my mom, but you know, just speaking from, you know, the perspective of somebody with a disability who may not have been taught or coached in a certain way. The perspective of I deserve absolutely everything and everybody needs to bend to my will because I have a disability. For me, it doesn't work like that. My mom taught me it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't
I
work
had
like that anywhere.
I know, right? That I had to learn accountability, and I had to learn lumps and everything. So it's like, well, what do you think happened when I went to go ahead and publish my first book? I got rejected just like everybody else. I was told that my stuff was crappy just because
Uh-oh,
that's
you
what happened.
cursed.
I said crappy.
I don't know, like, oh no, I'm gonna have to blur it out.
Okay. Just honestly like everybody else. And I I had to learn, rules of the road even within the world of disability. I mean, the Special Olympics, they have rules, and we love people with disabilities. But guess what? We still have rules, and we still have standards for what you can do and what you can't do. We have our games, state games. We have them at various universities and things like that. And guess what? Just because we have a disability, the dormitories that we stay in, we have to treat it just like it's our home. We're not allowed to, collect forest animals and put them in the bed with us. And we're not allowed to have, donuts and cookies all hours of the night just because we have disabilities. We have rules, and I remember being selected back in 2019, and guess what? We had a bunch of rules, and one of the rules were that they only limited us to 2 cups of soda because there are a lot of us that can become hyper. I didn't even do that. I had milk and then I went back for water. But the point is, even the Special Olympics has rules, and I know that as being one of the global ambassadors for Northern California. We have rules, and they wouldn't pick you, to perform these speeches and things like that if you have, behaviors that are not seen as, because we speak to, media influencers and things like that. And if you're throwing a fit or you're throwing any type of tantrum or things like that, they're not going to pick, they don't want that. They want people who they want the athletes to do the best that they can, and that's why they train you and they prep you and they coach you before they send you out onto a media appearance, because they want everybody to be successful, which is the one thing that I love about the Special Olympics, that they train all of us for success in roles and leadership.
I don't like the disable, I guess, barrier of it because it creates a, I think, like, to me, it creates the bar to be low. And I think society doesn't care if you're disabled or not. Like, if you provide value and you provide a skill, people will want to have you. I
Mhm.
do understand there are limitations of, like vision and physical. I get that, but society doesn't care, and you got to do something. You can't wait for society to help you. You gotta pick up the shit and go with it. If you're not gonna, like, it happened to me when I first started the whole YouTube thing. Like, no one was gonna hold my hand and, like, put the camera up and the editing and stuff. I had to go and learn it all by myself, and it worked out great. But like, I'm the one that had to
Oh,
put the work. A lot of people just wait for someone to hold their hand all the time, and that's how it is. Close it off with a poem. I have two poems that you like a lot. One called 67, and one you resonated the most with called Several Lives. You can choose those two poems, or you can choose any poem you like.
so I'm gonna go with this one. I remember specifically writing this one. It's called Invisible in Public. Invisible in public. Between you and me, I can't see what's in front of me. I'm invisible in public. My foot taps pavement to find level ground. And with all those people around me, they still can't tell. I sit in a restaurant. The menu is blurry. I can't read it. They don't offer large print. I do nothing to even hint at my struggle that I'm facing to read it. It's invisible in public. So essentially, they don't care. My depression, it's invisible in public. They don't see me cry at night, unaware of the emotional fight that I face every day to keep going. And my autism, just because I don't act out in class doesn't mean that I don't struggle with the social norms that confront me when I am being labeled by my peers. My disabilities, they are invisible in public. And several times they are failing to realize what I go through on a daily basis, the struggle that I deal with in social circles, trying to be accepted. Instead, I face rejection from a cold, cruel world that does not help me out, but instead they quote, call me a crippled. So disheartening. I'm invisible in public and absolutely no one sees me.
Wow, I felt the energy to when you were saying the poem seemed to hit you a lot.
I remember writing invisible in public and struggled to write it because during that time I was still struggling with the idea of being autistic, but I felt that if I didn't write these feelings down, regardless of how I felt, that I would, never write them down or perhaps only write about the joys of quote unquote being autistic versus just the struggles.
Okay, so before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote, any words of wisdom, the winning lottery numbers? The mic is all yours.
Well, I think the winning numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pink chair, water bottle. There you go.
Okay.
Just kidding. I think what's important to remember that those of us with any type of disability, we can choose who and how we want to be in this world. We shouldn't let special needs hinder us. We should use our disabilities and our challenges to make us better, to make us stronger.
Okay, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you, Amanda, so much for giving me your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and I'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Thank you so much.